when you're in the bad, especially when you're young, we develop self-esteem, by the age of 7. If you're not good by the age of 7 or 8 years old, you have a good chance of being the rest of your life. So if your parents or you came up wrong, and then 7 or 8, if you don't have the self-esteem, but you fucking grind, you're like, I want to be better. When you get to where I got, or where I am, it's almost like you can't believe the journey. Like I talk about in that fucking VFW, and I'm in the first chapter of that book, man. I'm sitting in that audience with all those fucking people, and I'm about to get the, Americanism Award. And I was grinding so hard, I never took time to reflect on my life. And this was like time to reflect. And I was all kind of fucked up. Man, I got on stage, man, just fucking cried for like 59 seconds. And it was such an emotional moment for me that I fucking did what I did. And I overcame it. And it was alone, man. A lot of people have fucking like teammates and fucking like, family push. My mom was struggling, bro. She was struggling. So it was like me and my mom. And so it was a lot of just me. So when you're waking up every morning by yourself and you're fucking getting after it by yourself, and it's the hidden work. People see a 1 minute video of me running and like these fighters, they see during the fight or after the fight. They don't see these motherfuckers, man, what they deal with every fucking day. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I shouldn't be here. Because every day, even though they're fucking the best in the world, that little motherfucker at 7 or 8 years old is still in there saying, oh man, we don't have something. We're not good enough. We shouldn't be here. So you're always fighting that motherfucker. Even though you beat it, you never truly beat it. So when they get on stage and they're talking to Joe Rogan, it's not even real. It's not even real. All those mornings that you didn't want to fucking get up, and I look at it as like a rock, and you find this fucking rock, and that rock is you. And every day you fucking fight not wanting to get up, and you do anyway. You chip another piece off that fucking rock, and every day you fucking eat the right foods, and every day you go to train, you train harder and harder and harder and harder, and you get up earlier, and all these things you do to start forming yourself. You're chipping another fucking piece of that rock off. Before you know it, you have this beautiful fucking piece of artwork that you built. But people don't, and then once you get there, you see it, and it becomes real. Like, oh my God, I fucking did this shit. And so like the fucking journey becomes so real then. But so many people aren't willing to fucking chip away at that stone that is them, to start chipping off those fucking rough edges. When I was a SEAL recruiter, I got invited to MIT. Smart ass motherfuckers there, man. I'm not that. I'm just a good animal. I'm a knuckle dragger. There was this guy there, I forget his name, but he was like the top head guy. Old white guy, all geniused out. And we were on this panel, and they were asking us all these questions about the mind, mental toughness, and shit, and he was answering them. And I wasn't answering many questions. And I'll never forget, he was just answering them off of theory. He never put his fucking ass in. You read a bunch of books, and you think that you know how the fucking mind works and shit. I had gone through hell since a kid, and then all the way up until now. So I know, so that theory is bullshit. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there you can read from people, but I had lived hell. And when you put yourself in hell, that's the only time you can figure out how to get through that motherfucker. You can't read somebody else's book about some theory on how to do shit. Some guy who sat up in their nice warm office and wrote some book with a nice cup of coffee in the fucking hand. No, I want to see that guy who immersed himself in fucking hell, and he thought about quitting and leaving, and his wife and his kids, and why am I here? Is it worth it? All this crazy shit. And still said and found out a way to get through it. So basically that's the bottom line of it all. We all want to read about how we can quickly get somewhere. That's why the 6-minute abs and all sort of shit is so powerful. You may get some results from it, but they're not permanent. The permanent result comes from you I say it all the time, you have to suffer. You have to make that a tattoo on your fucking brain, so when that hard time comes again, you don't forget it. You may forget it for a second, but you can go back in the cookie jar, I call it. It's something that we've all endured. I call it the cookie jar, and we often forget how hard we are, but you gotta reflect back. Take a couple seconds to reflect. I've been through this, I've been through that, and then remind yourself, I'm a bad motherfucker. And then you can get through that. But if you don't believe it, you haven't endured, you're just blowing smoke, man. And you're not gonna be able to get through anything. We all have a cookie jar inside us because life, being what it is, has always tested us. Even if you're feeling low and beat down by life right now, I guarantee you can think of a time or two when you overcame odds and tasted success. It doesn't have to be a big victory either. It can be something small. I know we all want the whole victory today, but when I was teaching myself to read, I would be happy when I could understand every word in a single paragraph. I knew I still had a long way to go to move from a third grade reading level to that of a senior in high school. But even a small win like that was enough to keep me interested in learning and finding more within myself. You don't drop 100 pounds in less than 3 months without losing 5 pounds in a week first. Those first 5 pounds I lost were a small accomplishment, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but at the time, it was proof that I could lose weight and that my goal, however improbable, was not impossible. The engine in a rocket ship does not fire without a small spark first. We all need small sparks, small accomplishments in our lives to fuel the big ones. Think of your small accomplishments as kindling. When you want a bonfire, you don't start by lighting a big log. You collect some witch's hair, a small pile of hay, or some dry, dead grass. You light that and then add small sticks and bigger sticks before you feed your tree stump into the blaze. Because it's the small sparks, which start small fires, that eventually build enough heat to burn the whole fucking forest down. If you don't have any big accomplishments to draw on yet, so be it. Your small victories are your cookies to savor, and make sure you do savor them. Yeah, I was hard on myself when I looked in the accountability mirror, but I also praised myself whenever I could claim a small victory, because we all need that, and very few of us take the time to celebrate our successes. Sure, in the moment we might enjoy them, but do we ever look back on them and feel that win again and again? Maybe that sounds narcissistic to you. But I'm not talking about droning on and bullshitting about the glory days here. I'm not suggesting you crawl up your own ass and bore your friends with all your stories about what a badass you used to be. Nobody wants to hear that shit. I'm talking about utilizing past successes to fuel you to new and bigger ones. Because in the heat of battle, when it gets real, we need to draw inspiration to push through our own exhaustion, depression, pain, and misery. We need to spark a bunch of small fires to become the motherfucking inferno. But digging into the cookie jar when things are going south takes focus and determination, because at first the brain doesn't want to go there. It wants to remind you that you're suffering and that your goal is impossible. It wants to stop you so it can stop the pain. That night in San Diego was the most difficult night of my life, physically. I'd never felt so broken, and there were no souls to take. I wasn't competing for a trophy. There was no one standing in my way. All I had to draw on to keep myself going was me. The cookie jar became my energy bank. Whenever the pain got to be too much, I dug into it and took a bite. The pain was never gone, but I only felt it in waves because my brain was otherwise occupied, which allowed me to drown out the simple questions and shrink time. Each lap became a victory lap, celebrating a different cookie, another small fire. Mile 81 became 82, and an hour and a half later, I was in the 90s. I'd run 90 fucking miles with no training. Who does that shit? An hour later, I was at 95, and after nearly 19 hours of running almost nonstop, I'd done it. I'd hit 100 miles, or had I? I couldn't remember, so I ran one more lap just to make sure. Whether you are running on a treadmill or doing a set of push-ups, get to the point where you are so tired and in pain that your mind is begging you to stop. Then push just 5 to 10% further. If the most push-ups you have ever done is 100 in a workout, do 105 or 110. If you normally run 30 miles each week, run 10% more next week. This gradual ramp-up will help prevent injury and allow your body and mind to slowly adapt to your new workload. It also resets your baseline, which is important because you're about to increase your workload another 5 to 10% the following week and the week after that. There is so much pain and suffering involved in physical challenges that it's the best training to take command of your inner dialogue, and the newfound mental strength and confidence you gain by continuing to push yourself physically will carry over to other aspects in your life. You will realize that if you were underperforming in your physical challenges, there's a good chance you are underperforming at school and work too. The bottom line is that life is one big mind game. The only person you're playing against is yourself. Stick with this process, and soon what you thought was impossible will be something you do every fucking day of your life.